Well, this is one hell of a way to build atmosphere for your game. This week we're taking a look at Medieval 2 Total War. Developed by the Creative Assembly and published by Sega, Medieval 2 Total War was released in 2006 and is the sequel to Medieval Total War, released a few years earlier. Like the Total War games before it, it pushed the limits of how good battles could look on a large scale, and it blew away fans and critics alike. In Medieval, you're taking charge of one of 5 factions within the game, and are charged with conquering the world. The game basically splits up into 2 different gameplay types. The overworld map, where you can manage your kingdom and deal with issues like diplomacy, espionage and money. And you've got the battlefield, where you take direct control of your army and try to vanquish any enemy opposing you. Although the latter of the gameplay types is usually associated with the Total War games, the world map is a game in upon itself. All around the map you've got towers and castles. To expand your borders, you'll have to take one of these from your enemy. This can be done through diplomacy, war, or even bribing.
I am afraid I must deny you.
But besides conflict, you also have to manage your finances. Armies cost money, as do building new buildings in your towns and castles. So you've got to make sure that you've got plenty of cold hard cash to back you up. An easy way to make money is to plunder an enemy town, of course, but there's other ways as well. One of these is training merchants and sending them out to profitable resources like gold or dyes. This helps you create a small but steady income of coin. If you're not the patient kind, there's other ways of making money as well. You can raise the taxes in towns, which will cause civil unrest, or even revolts if you push it too far, but at least it gives you a quick way to quickly fill your pockets. For the greater good, of course. The world map also allows you to send diplomats, spies or assassins to your allies or enemies, and gives you a place to read up upon your royal family. You see, the royalty plays an important part in this game. Most of your commanders will be of royal descent, and all of them have their own unique skills, entourages and even flaws. From lords who spend too much time drinking themselves into a stupor, to lords who, for example, excel at fighting night battles. You've got to be real careful who you put in charge of a town and who you give command over an army. And then there's the church. Oh boy, don't you just love organized religion watching over your shoulder at every turn? Well, actually, as bad as the church has been portrayed in most medieval settings, here it is somewhat redeeming itself. Sure, they still declare crusades against anyone who isn't Christian, but they also keep an eye on Europe to make sure that God's children don't spend all their time slaughtering each other. The Church, or the Papal States, are a powerful faction that can demand that you stop your conquest or ask favors of you. If you ignore them too often, your reputation will grow worse and worse, and eventually your entire kingdom can be excommunicated, making you a fair target for all your neighboring countries. However, from there on, let's take a look at the real meat of the game: the battles. When starting a battle, you get a clear overview of your army, followed by your commander giving a rousing speech about how your enemy are nothing more than thugs and bandits, and that by killing them you're probably doing them a favor.
They must all die before dawn comes again. This is a mercy, because they richly deserve the gallows for turning against their betters.
You get the chance to reposition your troops and then start the battle. Units are commanded not one at a time, but instead in bulks. Positioning is key, because if you don't watch your flanks, the enemy could go around and charge you from the sides, or even from behind, causing fear and panic within your ranks. Fighting a battle is a constant struggle of charging your enemy and outmaneuvering them, trying to get the upper hand and breaking their morale. When you break a unit's morale, they'll start panicking and fleeing, making it easy for you to write them down and take as prisoners of war. Different units fare better against certain types of enemies. Spearmen, for example, should be deployed against horsemen, while horsemen can quickly charge enemy archers and wipe them out before they can do any real damage against your slow-moving infantry. Of course, every once in a while your thirst for conquest becomes too much and you'd like to take a castle or a town. This is done in a siege battle. After besieging a region, you can build up your siege weaponry like battering rams and ladders and begin the assault. Instead of fighting your battles out on the field, you are now facing a large wall preventing you from coming in. You have to move quickly and get into the town via ladders, siege towers or rams, all the while your enemy is raining down arrows at you. But that isn't even the most challenging part. Instead of a large open field, you are now fighting inch by bloody inch within the streets of the city, forcing you to adapt to the scenery. Once you've taken the city or the castle, it becomes part of your kingdom, and you now have the option to occupy it, loot it, or even worse, exterminate its population. The latter is done to prevent any sort of uprising from the citizens. So you did it! You took over the entire known world. Wanna know how the game rewards you? Well, all those factions that you've been fighting during your campaign have now been unlocked, giving you access to many new cultures, all with unique units, buildings and cities. And with all of that out of the way, let's look at the story. Although the main campaign doesn't feature any real story other than conquer the world, the game does offer you the option to relive historical battles, giving you some background information on who's fighting who, only now putting you in command. Although a great little addition to the game, I hardly ever played any of these and instead focused on the main campaign or maybe the multiplayer battles. But let's take a closer look at the graphics. For the enormous scale of this game, the graphics are surprisingly good. Not every soldier has the same face, for example, and there are these death animations similar to the ones used in Dawn of War. Due to the high realism they went with, the graphics don't really hold up anymore nowadays. But that shouldn't be a reason not to play this game. Watching two large armies clashing looks amazing. And ending up the victor after a hard-fought battle feels fantastic. Nowadays, the Creative Assembly team is still working hard on new Total War games, with their latest, Rome 2 Total War, being released at the end of 2013. If you like taking command of a kingdom and conquering a world set in a medieval setting, then this is the game for you. I've always greatly enjoyed playing this one, even if it's a huge time sink. And with that, we've reached the end of another Did You Play? Be sure to leave me a like if you liked the video, and why not leave me a comment in the comment section below. I always love to read what you guys have to say. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next week for another Did You Play?